Alrighty. As you know, this is the summer series has just been by volunteer, different people signing up to cover a different psalm each Sunday, a hand-picked psalm. And so the one I picked to cover this morning is Psalm 121. And I'll be honest, my initial reason for picking it was I just liked the little subtitle, I Lift Up My Eyes to the Hills. And I like to talk about or think about things and that have to do with our mental as well as our physical focus. But interestingly enough, that's not what Psalms 121 is about so much, is what we're looking at. But we are going to go there anyway, eventually. So what I would like to do to begin with is audience participation time. Ask you, can you think of a time when you had a desperate need for help of some kind? You were in danger. You were in big trouble. You were very scared or for whatever reason, some kind of danger or whatever, and you needed some big-time help. Anybody have an example you want to share of that? Buster, you're the first one I saw.
I thought you just said raise your hand.
Oh.
That's okay. So, with children, right? As parents, that's normally the scariest thing when your kid is hurt or something is injured. Our son, he was like 7 or 8 years old. He got kicked by a horse and sent flying, and we were an hour outside of the city.
You're not supposed to snap the reins when the kid walks behind.
We weren't even behind him. That was the crazy. It was a wild story, but it was very scary. And I needed help when Caleb kind of got himself together. He immediately was like, he was calling out to God right while he was spitting blood and everything else. So it was scary, and yeah, we needed help.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one. Did you have one?
I was
Carrie?
probably 11, 12 years old. Summer camp, northern woods in Minnesota. The girls group went on an overnight camp out and we all got lost in the woods
Yeah.
overnight.
Ooh.
And yeah,
How big a group?
probably about 8 of us.
That's a scary thing when you completely lose your bearings and you don't have a clue which direction to go. You know you're not where you need to be. That's scary. Anybody else have an example? Steve?
It's been some time ago, but Shonda and I were working with the youth group, and we were going on a youth retreat in Arkansas. I don't know if anybody knows where Arkansas is, but anyway, we were going there, and we got on the wrong road, and we had about 20 young people and 3 or 4 sets of adults. And we got up on top of a mountain, and there was a group of buildings up there and homes up there, and we drove in with this bus load of kids, and men with weapons come out and start surrounding our bus. And needless to say, we got off the mountain faster than we got on the mountain.
Yeah.
But they told us to leave immediately.
Yeah.
So that was a little scary.
Yeah.
Especially with all those young people.
Right. Very good. Any others? All right. Who are some of the types of folk that we turn to when we need help? Yeah. Yeah. Not so much anymore. They're among us giving plea for help, right? But who are some of the kind of people we turn to? Mom or dad, maybe? Spouse? Did somebody say something? Husband? Yeah. Maybe the police, the authorities. If you're in...
Yeah, when he's the police, it's one and the same.
Maybe if you're in legal trouble, maybe you need serious help from an attorney. You know, Howie's not here, but I'm sure he'd raise his hand and say bail bondsman or something sometime. Just kidding. But, or maybe a Christian friend. Maybe a preacher, maybe an elder, because it's a spiritual matter. You want God's help and you feel like your prayers just aren't getting through, aren't cutting it or whatever. You need some additional help. What is it about those people, those types of people or whatever, or those specific people? What is it about them that makes us want to call upon them as opposed to just whoever's standing next to us? Why do we call upon those particular folks?
Feel they're closer to God.
Okay, if it's in the spiritual sense, a Christian friend, preacher, elder, whatever, it may be because we feel like they've been down the road a little bit spiritually and they maybe have some wisdom to share there. Okay, good. Comfort level, right? Especially younger people, kids, maybe looking to dad as their protector or whatever, or mom, whatever. Any other reasons?
You may have the strength or the ability to do something.
Yeah. They've got the strength, the ability, the power, the authority. They got the gun on their side or whatever. They've got the power to render aid in whatever particular aid is needed in that time. Or in the terms of an attorney, they know their way through the law, through all the complicated red tape and stuff like that you don't even know where to begin. So we turn to folks like that because they're knowledgeable, they're trustworthy, maybe because of their availability. You know that it's somebody that, if you call them anytime, night or day, they're going to come running. So it's maybe they don't have a 6-gun on their side, but you know they're going to be there in a moment when you need help. And so what this particular psalm is about is David searching for help. And there's basically three parts to the psalm. You might need to turn there. That looks like it's a little small to read. But I'm not going to read through the whole thing, just going to kind of cover the major parts, and we'll see where it goes from there. But in the 3 parts, he starts off with a question, and then he gives an answer to that question, and then he begins to explain his answer. So he begins with the phrase that I said, one of the reasons I picked this psalm, I lift up my eyes to the hills. Well, why is he lifting up his eyes to the hills? He's trying to figure out where is his help going to come from. In David's early days, David was handpicked by God to be the succeeding king over Saul. Saul was the first king over Israel, but he had failed. And God told Solomon, David's my guy. But David was still a young man. He had a lot of growing up to do. And then as he grew up and as he began to realize that he had God on his side and he had a lot of power, he still had a lot of enemies. Even Saul himself and others were chasing after him. So we read a lot in the Psalms, in various Psalms, where David is in distress. He's hiding in the cave or wherever he is before he finally ascended to the throne and took ownership of what God had bestowed upon him. Until then, there was a lot of times when he just reached out to God and needed help. And you can imagine if he's looking to the hills, so he's in a setting, and I suspect each of you have been there at some point. You're on vacation someplace or whatever, and you're sitting in a place you're surrounded by mountains. Just beautiful majesty. And there's just something about that kind of a setting, a sense of power, just a sense of awe, just the force it took to create those things and all that kind of stuff. And there might be a sense of protection, feeling, just here in these mountains and this mountainous home area of mine. I feel safe. I feel protected. Is that where my help's going to come from? Those mountains are just going to sit there. They're really not going to help you. You might feel like they're a bit of a fortress for you or something, but they're not really going to help you. Now, if you all of a sudden heard some music playing in the background, sounded something like the William Tell Overture, and you think, or the Lone Ranger theme, and now you think, okay, any minute now I'm going to see the white horse come riding down the mountain. There's my help. I'm in good hands now, and I hear that music, and I know it's fixing to be good. But that's not it. He ain't coming. Pardon my English, but the Lone Ranger's not going to come and rescue the day, and so you're going to have to look someplace else. And so David realizes, I raise my eyes to the hills. Is that where my help's going to come from? He quickly acknowledges, nope, that's not it. And so basically the rest of the psalm is talking about where his help is going to come from, and he realizes his help is going to come from the Lord. But why? He lists, basically the rest of the psalm is listing the reasons why he turns to the Lord for his help. So we'll itemize those. He is the creator. I mean, who else? If you're in a building and you're in a strange building, you don't know where you are. And the person who designed the building, while I'm saying that, I'm thinking of the guy who built the Titanic, but that didn't really help people get off the board. But in this case, the God who created you, who created the ground you're standing on, who created the air you breathe, who better to call upon? The master over everything. That should be enough right there of why we would call upon the Lord. But it also says he will not let your foot be moved. You ever been in a place where the ground is shaky, whether it's maybe it's an earthquake or maybe you're not standing on the ground, but you're on something, you're on a boat or whatever, and it's not stable. Your feet are moving around, and it can be kind of unsettling, can it? And how much more confident you feel when you get on solid ground or steady ground or whatever, and you just feel safer there. Well, God will not let our foot be moved. He will not slumber or sleep. Personally, if I'm hiring a security guy, if I need somebody to come to my rescue, or maybe I don't need rescuing right now, but I know danger is lurking, and I need protection from that danger, potential danger. I want to make sure he's not out sleeping in the car out there. I want to make sure he doesn't take some time off while my enemy is out there just looking for an opportunity to come in. Now, I am curious, and I did look it up. I thought it was kind of funny. Do not sleep or slumber. What's the difference between sleep and slumber? I kind of thought it was the same thing. What, Ken, you know? Well, if you look it up, there's some definitions. Like one is, and I can't remember now which. I think it's slumber, is like there's no dreams going on. It's kind of a disconnected from the brain. There's no activity going on there as far as dreams and things like that. But there is a. It'll tell you the words are used synonymously, but there's also a difference if you really want to get into it. But I want a protector who's not going to take a break or sleep. He's the keeper of all Israel. So from the very beginning, early in the Bible, as God picks his anointed people, his chosen people, the Israelites, he tells them over and over and over, I've got you. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to get you through this. And he does, and he's demonstrated that so many times, and David knows that. And so, but he also acknowledges that the very God who said he's going to be the keeper of all Israel is also your keeper. He's also my keeper. It's like he's our personal security guard. He provides shelter and shade, so protection from the elements. The sun beating down on you, the elements pouring down upon you. or whatever might be out there that could harm you or hurt you. He'll protect you from evil. Well, that's probably one of the scariest things is evil forces. When you know there's something out there, it's like if you're in the wild and you know there's a bear or tiger out there or whatever, is a man-eater, and he smells you. He knows you're in the area, and it wants to eat you. It wants to take your life. That's a scary thing. And that's kind of the way evil is. The devil wants each and every one of us. If he could round up every single one of us and lead us away from God, he would do it. And he will continue to try to do that for as long as we live. But God will protect us from that if we call upon him. He'll protect our life as we come and go. So wherever we are, we don't have to necessarily be in church building or whatever to be protected. Just wherever we are, he's going to protect us. And he's there to the bitter end. No, I shouldn't say the bitter end. He's there to the very end to help us. He's going to do it forever. For as long as we continue to call upon him, he is there for us. Well, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much Psalms, what the basic meaning behind that psalm is in a nutshell. I thought it was interesting, though. I just chose that graphic of the Beatles album with the Help song just because I was looking for something that had the word help in it. But I thought it's interesting to look back at the lyrics to their song and how I wonder if maybe when John Lennon was writing it, he was familiar with that psalm. Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody. You know, I need someone. When I was younger than I am today, I never needed anybody's help. But now these days are gone. Those days are gone, and I'm not so self-assured. Now I've finally changed my mind, and I've opened up the doors. This could be a hymn. I mean, it really could if you thought about it. Help me if you can. I'm feeling down. I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? And it goes on and on, but I'll end there. So help. Help is something we are always in need of. And what better place to go for help than to the Lord? So like I say, that's kind of the psalm in a nutshell, but I want to redirect us back to the thought that I said I kind of had when I first selected this one. It's my eyes looking to the hills. Why is David looking to the hills? He's searching for help. And there is importance, I think, there is value, there is power in what we see. Not only with our physical eyes, but with our mental eyes, right? The things we focus on, the things we think about, but the things also that we actually physically see have an impact on us. We feel much safer. If we're in danger, if we're in one of those scary situations, we feel much danger when we can actually see the help. You know, when we see that white horse riding down the mountain, or we see Dad's car pulling up, or the police car pulling up, or whatever it might be, we feel safer then than just knowing they're on the way. I feel a lot better when I can put my eyes on them. So, first passage from Luke 11:34. Your eye is the lamp of your body, and when your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. And when it is bad, your body is full of darkness. So right off the bat, it's as long as what is being processed through your vision is good, then it brightens your day. It brightens your mood. It makes you feel better. It helps the day go by. It helps everything you do. But if what you're seeing or thinking about is dark, it's going to impact your day in a negative way as well. So where we focus, what we focus on, what we see is powerful. So looking at Matthew 14:28 through 30. We're very familiar with the scene where Jesus is walking to the boat on the water, and Peter sees him. And Peter calls out to him, or answers to him, Lord, if it's you, command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink and cried out, Lord, save me. So he saw Jesus walking on the water. He visually saw it's happening. It can be done. Jesus, if that's you, let me come out there and do it with you. Because I know you can do anything. And as long as he was looking at Jesus, he did the same thing. He's walking on the water from the boat back to Jesus. And then what happens? You hear a crack of thunder or the wind or something, and he turns and he looks at the other stuff, and he gets scared and blub, 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 he starts to sink, right? What he was focusing on had a direct impact on whether he stayed above water or went below water. And you know how that one ended up. Jesus fussed at him a little bit for having a little faith, you know, and just hey, I'm right here. You're walking towards me. I'm right here. Look back to me and I'll bring you up. Okay. Another passage, looking at Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So we're running a race, and you know, if any runners in here, people who like to run? Not a lot. Do what? No one. Yeah. I was gonna say they need help if anybody. But yeah, running it's not a natural thing unless somebody's chasing you. But people who run, you got to focus on certain things. You got to, if you focus on the pain, if you focus on the shortness of breath or the dry mouth or whatever, you're gonna realize I ain't gonna make it. You got to focus on something positive, right? If you ever seen or been to like dog races, I think greyhound races. I've never been, but I've seen videos where they've got a little mechanical fake rabbit on a pole that's mechanically being driven around the track, and the dogs think they're chasing a rabbit, and it makes them run faster than if they're just out there running amongst themselves, because they've got a target, they've got something to aim for, something to try to catch. So as long as our target is Jesus, we're going to be a lot better off. Matthew 4:19. Jesus, and we're hitting this a lot in our discipleship push, but he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." So if somebody, whether it's Jesus or anybody else, somebody in this room after service says, "Hey, come go with me, follow me. We're going someplace you don't know where it is, follow me." Well, what's one of the key things you've got to do? You got to stay close enough to them and see them, and you can't follow them if you can't see them, right? If you're not watching where they go, where they're going, or if you don't pay attention to what they tell you to do, where they tell you to go, you're not going to be a successful follower. You're going to be lost again. And they've gone on to where they said they were going to go, and you're not there because you lost sight of them. The very same thing applies to us if we say, "Yes, Jesus, I will follow you. I am a follower. I am a disciple. I'm trying my best to be a more fully committed follower of you every day." I can't just say that and it's the case. I've got to be looking at Jesus. I've got to be talking to Jesus. I can't go where he wants me to go. I can't see where he's leading me to go if my eyes aren't locked onto him. So following Jesus, it's not a decision. It's an action. It's not a, yes, I'm going to follow Jesus. It's a, no, I am following Jesus, and it requires continuous effort for the rest of your life. Okay, another passage, 2 Corinthians 4, 16 and 18. So we do not lose heart. though our outer self is wasting away and inner self is being renewed day by day, for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. Basically, I think just a quick take on that is, if we get caught up in the physical, the junk, the worldly junk that's right in front of us, that the mess that's in front of us, and we let that dictate our response, our actions, or whatever, as opposed to the eternal, what we know from our Bible studies, what we know from our prayer time. If we focus on the physical distractions in front of us instead of those unseen things, the spiritual things that really matter, then that's going to have an impact on us, an impact on our faith. One more passage, Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. So another commendation to us to dwell on the good stuff. Think about what's going on that is good. Think about the positive things that God has told us. Think about what He has promised us. And if we're truly followers of Him, we go where He wants us to go, surrender to Him. No, He is not going to lead us to some place that we're not capable of working in or surviving in. If we follow Him to do His mission and we surrender, say, I'm letting go of what I had in mind, I'm going to do what you want me to do, He is going to equip you and make it possible for you to do that mission that He's leading you towards. So we need to focus on the good things and believe that it'll happen. Okay, I want to get back to some audience participation here. So what are some physical things we do, some activities and things that we do or other people do wherein visual focus or aim is very important to success, is critical? What are some things? Activities, sports, whatever.
Bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow? Did somebody over here say something else? Archery? Archery or bow and arrow, slumber, sleep. I don't know. What? Billiards. Wish I knew somebody who knew how to play pool. Or ping pong, yeah. Anything where you're hitting a ball, throwing a ball, whatever. Others? Music? How so? Okay. Either knowing where your fingers are or what the notes say your fingers are supposed to be doing right now, or what else? What was that? Shooting, yeah. Whether you're hunting. Yeah, if you're firing a gun, whether it's at an animal or a target or whatever, it's kind of critical. So y'all are hitting on most of the things that I had listed here. Hunting, maybe some bowling, just about anything with a ball. Throwing a ball, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, right? I mean, he can throw a ball over there and hit it right on target looking over here, but most people can't do that very well. Whether you're driving, it's kind of important to keep your eyes on the road, right? Don't a lot of accidents happen when people are distracted and they're looking at the little piece of glass instead of through the big piece of glass? So driving is important. What about virtual reality games? Anybody gotten absorbed in some of that? But you put on the goggles or whatever, and you're immersed into an environment all of a sudden that is unreal, but it seems very real to you. I had in mind, one of the things I was wanting to do was put in a little video clip, because you can Google, virtual reality fails, and you can watch some hilarious videos of people playing some game, whether they've got a gun or a sword in their hand, or they're running or whatever, and they're standing in the middle of the living room, They knew that's where they were when they put those goggles on. And all of a sudden you see them just leap into the TV or run into the wall, or just do crazy things. And the reason I didn't include any of those videos is most of them include some bad words. After people leaping and landing on the floor, and it's just hilarious stuff. And you think, why are they doing that? It's because what they are seeing has got them completely fooled into thinking that is reality, right? And what they see there, where they knew they were, is out the window. And they think they're in that all of a sudden until they hit the wall or the TV or the floor or something and realize that that's not it. So, well, if there is any powerful evidence of what visual influence has upon us, just watch somebody playing virtual reality games sometime. But what about anything else? Anything else come to mind from those? Baseball? Yeah? Yeah. For both the thrower, looking at what you're throwing at, and the guy catching the ball so he doesn't catch it with his face or something. All right. What about flying a plane? You think, well, flying a plane, you got a big old runway out there. It doesn't seem like it's as critical. It's not as pinpoint, maybe, as shooting at a target and trying to hit a bullseye. Or
Flying a plane is easy. Landing a plane is the difference.
Yeah. Another expression I used to hear all the time is, taking off is optional. Landing is mandatory. You don't have to go up in the air, but if you're up in the air, you got to come back down. But so flying a plane can be an interesting thing. There's a lot of visual cues that a pilot has to use to successfully fly. And if you're not aware, anybody here a pilot? Got a couple. So IFR and VFR, these guys know what it is, but VFR, then IFR, getting it backwards. VFR stands for Visual Flight Rules. When you're a rookie pilot, you're just beginning, you're not going to figure out how to use and command that airplane by just looking at all the instruments in front of you. Your main source of information is a few of those instruments telling you what your speed is and things like that, and what you can see out the window. You need to be able to see to know that you're flying level as opposed to turning, or you're going up or you're going down. And there's a whole set of rules that apply to you if you are rated as a VFR pilot, and you have to abide by those rules. If it's dark, if the weather's bad, et cetera, and you're not going to be able to see out of that windshield to know where you're going, then you're not supposed to be flying if you're a VFR pilot. But if you go on and get further developed and further trained and become an IFR pilot, now you are rated to fly by the instruments. You could virtually almost have a covered up windscreen, although it's not advised, and you could fly the airplane. It might be a little tougher to land and take off, but you could fly the airplane fully trusting what the instruments are telling you, because they are gathering information and continually informing the pilot of where he is and what his position is and what the attitude of the airplane is. But you ever heard of an airplane with a bad attitude? Anyway, but attitude has to do with whether it's pointing up or down. But instruments can tell them all of these kinds of things. This is one of the instruments, or it might look something like this, that the pilots will see in his cockpit. And the image that you see there, the little brown and blue image, is a virtual horizon, or an artificial horizon. That's theoretically what you want to be seeing same thing as what you want to be seeing when you're looking out through the windshield. And the blue is the sky and the brown is the ground. Now, when you're flying and all you see is blue, that means you're going up. If all you see is brown, that means you're coming down. You're heading towards the ground. And if that line is skewed, that means you're turning, you're banking, or doing something like that. So it's giving you that kind of information. There's also other information about how fast you're going, how high you are, and all that kind of stuff. Well, you've possibly heard about it. It was a long time ago, but there was a tragic accident that happened. John F. Kennedy Jr. was flying a small plane along with his wife. It happened back in 1999. And they had a tragic accident. It wasn't a long flight. It was a relatively short flight. It was over water. He was only VFR rated. He needed to fly during times when he could see. And what had happened was he had gotten, if I recall correctly, he'd gotten detained, so he wasn't able to take off as early as he wanted to, so it was getting dark. And he had also listened to there was either bad information about the weather forecast or he listened to the wrong forecast or whatever. There was storms rolling in and he didn't know that. And he chose to take off in a situation where he was going to have to be flying in bad weather conditions at night. And he wasn't rated for that. Long story short, before he gets to his destination, he ends up flying that plane right into the ocean, right into the water. He didn't realize that's what he was doing. If he had been an instrument-rated guy, he could have looked at his instruments and go, no, I'm looking at solid brown here. That means I'm going down. But his senses told him he was flying straight and level. He thought he was flying that plane just like he should have. And until the bottom of that cloud disappeared, he's looking at the water right before his plane plunged into the water. Probably had no clue he was flying it right into the water. The problem that he was experiencing is called spatial disorientation. Spatial meaning, there's X, Y, and Z planes. There's 3D space out here, and you want to be going in this direction. But if you're spatially disoriented, you might think you're going in this direction, but you're actually going in this direction, or you're going up or down, or whatever. And it's a very serious and it's a very real thing. And that's why, if you are only VFR rated, you need to be able to look out and see the horizon on the distance to know that you're flying straight and level and everything is going well. Sad little side note about the Kennedy crash is his plane was equipped with autopilot, but it wasn't engaged. He didn't have it turned on. If he had, the autopilot is like an IFR rated pilot in the seat. It's going to fly the plane based on the instruments and the flight plan, regardless of what you do. But he didn't have that activated and he perished. The application here for us: can we become spiritually disoriented? Is it possible for us to think that we're living a godly life? We think we're doing what God wants us to do. We think we've got a handle on things, but in fact, we don't. Maybe we've misled ourselves. We've let ourselves be misled. We have become spiritually disoriented. We're out of kilter with where God wants us to be or the direction we think we're going. We're really not going there because we have disregarded. Maybe we haven't been in the Scripture. Maybe we haven't been in prayer enough or whatever. So if that's possible, if it's possible to be spiritually disoriented, how can we avoid that? We don't want to fly our planes into the ocean thinking that we're headed towards Martha's Vineyard and we're going to have a good time there this evening and disappear into the water. How do we avoid spiritual disorientation? Keep our eyes on Jesus. What else? Dave?
Exhortations and edification for those who assemble with.
What was the last part?
For those who assemble with.
Yeah. Listen to good advice, exhortation and things that, and read Paul's letters to all the churches that he visited and all their ways that they wandered off the path. There's a lot of different things that he addresses in his letters to them, churches that he established that believed in God, believed in Jesus. were trying to do what's right, but they obviously got off the path. They wandered off the path, and he tried to get them back on the path. So we need to listen to our brothers and sisters, listen to good spiritual advice. So just where should our focus be? We already talked about Jesus. How do we do that? Be in the book, right? Continually be in the book. We all have a good basic Bible understanding. I say all of us, most of us do. But just because you think, yeah, I got the gist of it, that doesn't mean you can't benefit by reading that passage again a month from now, reading that book again a month from now. We need to be continually in Scripture. We need to be continually in prayer, and through both, seeking the Holy Spirit's guidance. Wherever we are, we may be lost. That Lone Ranger white horse, Dad's car, the police car, whatever other source of help we're thinking it might be coming, it's not there. It's not in sight. And I can't physically see Jesus because He's not in the room with me. But if I am constantly in the Word, and I reach out to Him in prayer, and I ask for guidance, and I open myself up, I'm not making so much noise on my own that I can't hear or see the Spirit trying to lead me where I should be going, then the Spirit will guide you. God will help you see through the fog. You may not be able to visually see yet the destination, but you can see enough to keep going. You can see enough to make it through. And so that's basically it. We're out of time. I just want this. Wasn't going to read this, but the old hymn, "Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus," from Helen Lamell in 1922. It says it all. It's a great old song. But anyway, that's it. I hope it's helpful. Focus. We got to chase that rabbit around the ground, the greyhound track. We got to focus on something to keep running in the way we should be going, and that something is Jesus. So hopefully that helps. Thank you all for being here. Yes, sir? Oh, she's blind. That's awesome. Great point there. Thank you. It's time to get ready for worship.